Deuteronomy 18, verse 9. When thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not learn to do after the abominations of those nations. So the Lord clearly said, do not follow the religious practices of the pagans. And yet, if you look at our so-called Christian world, they get solstice holiday from the pagans, a fertility goddess holiday from the pagans. They got the idea of an immortal soul from Greco-Hellenistic Neoplatonic dualism. And their day of worship comes from paganism. It comes from the pagan worshipers of the day of the sun. What caused the change? In the light of the Jewish-Roman wars that ended around 135 AD, there was an increasing desire of the apostatizing believers, of the weak-hearted believers, to do everything they could to disassociate themselves from anything even remotely Jewish. So anti-Semitism, combined with the Day of the Sun Edict around 321 from Emperor Constantine, which was furthered even more by the Council of Laodicea around 364 AD, Canon 29. Go read that. So we see that the major holidays of the Christian world come from paganism, and we see the day of worship comes from paganism. It does not come from this book. And if you look at Matthew 24, verse 20, pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. Whether you think that is referring to the time of 70 AD in Matthew 24, or to a future time, either way you have a problem if you do not keep the Sabbath. Because if you think it's referring to 70 AD, which is not the primary fulfillment, read verse 21. It's referring to the Great Tribulation and that time. But even if you believe it's 70 AD, then you're admitting that the Sabbath was not changed by Christ or the apostles before 70 AD. Thereby admitting that man changed it later. And if you read all of Matthew 24 and see that the primary fulfillment is referring to the time of the end, that's even more reason, because that shows that the believers will be keeping the Sabbath, because it says, pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. And why wouldn't they be keeping the Sabbath? Because we know from Isaiah 66, verse 23, that one day in the future, all mankind will worship the eternal one from one Sabbath to another. So we all talk about wanting government transparency to expose all the corruption and the fraud, and that's good. Why not have Bible transparency as to what it really says? And how about early church history transparency, so we could see how the church departed from the truth? Let's read this book for ourselves. Peace all.